Karen, thank you for joining me this afternoon to talk about your career. What is your first memory of dance?
My first memory of dance was when I was taken by my parents to see the National Ballet of Canada on tour in Hamilton with Giselle. And Celia Franca and Lois Smith were performing in that performance. Lois was Giselle, Celia was the Queen of the Willies. So at 8 years old, I totally fell in love with the whole idea of being a ballerina, and I wanted to be a ballerina. And my mother read everything she could about it in Maclean's magazine. And they found a ballet teacher close by, and this ballet teacher taught me in her basement. And there was a couch and a kitty litter box and one record, the Tennessee Waltz by Patti Page. And every Saturday morning, I would go down to her basement and learn these silly little combinations and play around. But eventually my mother read more about it and realized that I needed to go to a proper teacher who actually had credentials and knew how to teach ballet properly. And I went to a teacher in Mississauga who then advised my parents that I was very talented and that they should think about sending me to Canada's National Ballet School. And so eventually my parents took me in for an audition. And I was accepted into the ballet school. And that was the beginning of my life as a professional dancer.
You joined the company when Celia Franca became the artistic director. She was the artistic director. Did she ever give you any advice that you share with the dancers today?
Oh, she was tough. I think in this generation you wouldn't be able to use the kind of language and advice that she gave me. She had a great sense of humor, but she was very tough. She was very tough. You know, she told me I needed to lose weight, and she told me this, and she told me that. I mean, but I always knew that she cared about me and that she wanted the best for me. It's just she and Betty Oliphant were really of an era that was quite rigorous, a bit mean, but you know, you toughened up or you gave up. So I learned a lot from them. I also learned that you don't need to treat people that way in order to get the best out of them. But you do need sometimes to be a bit tough with people, because sometimes you actually are not reaching your potential because you're not actually trying your very hardest and being as focused as you should be. So I learned a lot from them.
What moment stands out for you in your performance career?
Well, when Rudolf Nureyev came into our midst, that was just amazing. And he was a very generous man, extremely demanding, but if you listened and heeded his advice and were as disciplined as he was, he could be very, very generous. Very generous. He took such good care of me. He gave me so many opportunities. He did everything he could for me to have the best career I could have.
What would you say has been the most rewarding experience in your career thus far?
Well, you know, with some distance between my dancing career and how wonderful it was and how much I loved it, I have to say that being a director has been incredibly rewarding in very different ways. It's not nearly as selfish in a way. It's about providing opportunities for other artists, and it's about providing opportunities for the public to experience dance in as many ways as possible. It's about trying to build excitement around the talent we have here and how good this company is and how we deserve to be recognized. All of those things have been, for me, the most rewarding part, I think, of my career. Seeing the National Ballet become one of the best known and respected companies in the world. And it just didn't infuriate me that nobody knew anything about the National Ballet of Canada when we traveled. And Rudolf started the interest in, you know, they came to see Rudolf, but they'd go, well, that's a pretty good company he's got around him, you know, and it grew from there. So I've had a lot of mentors, you know, starting with Betty Oliphant, Celia Franca, Eric Brun, Rudolf Nureyev, who've guided me, given me advice, challenged me, pushed me. And I try to do that for the young people that work with me today. Only that I have to be a lot kinder than they were in that era.
How have you seen the role of women as leaders in ballet or dance change over the years?
Well, in the way that I was expressing that those women of a certain era were very tough, and they had to be. But I see that women are sometimes more disciplined, more focused, and more able to handle the emotionality of creative careers than men. But I served under a lot of men too, and some of them were brilliant at it. Eric Brun was brilliant, but we only had him for 3 years before he died. Rudolf was wonderful. He managed to be tough but caring. So I've learned a lot from women, but I've learned a lot from men too.
Was that the actual costume you wore?
Uh-huh. And probably people wore it before me. Probably Heather Ogden wore it or somebody. We recycle everything. They just clean them up and they change the hooks and then.
But it just says something about the craftsmanship
Yes.
of the costume designers and the sewers here at the ballet. And as I said earlier, I still remember you doing Don Quixote wearing red. And that performance stood out to me for years and years and years. It was so beautiful. The pas de deux was incredible.
It's kind of a Spanish sexy pas
Yeah, it
de deux.
was.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was kind of bold.
Kind of bold and kind of in your face and
Yeah.
a lot of fan action
Yeah.
and flirting. Yeah, it was great.
That was one of my most memorable
Yeah.
ballets that you performed in.
Yeah. No, we repair when we do a new production. Well, for instance, Sleeping Beauty, which we first did with Rudolph. What year was that? 72 or 73. We buy enough fabric that we can repair and replace for how many years is it now? We have all the original fabrics, so we just keep repairing and replacing, so the production always looks brand new. It's amazing.
Now, is it the National Ballet that just does that, or do most companies do that?
Big companies do that.
Okay.
Because you have to have the space to store it. You have to have most big companies do that because you don't want, when something gets a little worn out, but it's still a good production, you don't want to just throw it out or start from the beginning. This way so this production, I can't remember what year, but it was also early 70s. And from a distance, it looks brand spanking new when you see it on the stage.
There's one other question I want to ask you, because you've been so supportive of Canadian choreographers. And I would say there's quite a few now in Canada, particularly the women who have a world-renowned reputation. What's it like working with them?
I don't know. I think it's part of what I'm here to do. If you've been given the kind of opportunities that I've been given in my professional life, we have to do the same for those coming behind us. And we need chances to see if they have what it takes or not. But if you don't get chances to try and experiment, you'll never be good at it. It's like with anything, you need to be given, somebody's got to put their faith in you and give you a good chance.
The company for so many years was very much a classical ballet company, but you began to change that and take it more into contemporary direction when it was appropriate or when you wanted to try something new. And I know our experience in supporting you over the years is all basically said, don't give me Swan Lake or Sleeping Beauty, give me something new that's going to be different. And you brought us a lot of wonderful new productions that otherwise we probably would never have seen.
Well, as a dancer, as an artist, I love to do the full spectrum of what dance is now. And people may have thought of ballet companies as only doing those old ballets, which I adore, I love them. But as an artist and an audience member, I want to see the full range. I want to see, and really good dancers can do it all. Certain dancers can't, but we have the kind of dancers that have the training and the kind of mindset that they want to explore the new, but they also respect and love to do the old ballets. They want to test their mettle against the old works, to see if they can do them even better than their predecessors. And they often do.
And you've given that opportunity.
Yeah, yeah.
Looking back at your 50-year career with the National Ballet of Canada, what would you say is the boldest move you've made?
I think the programming that I've done, some of it, say A Streetcar Named Desire, and it's full of dirty language and explicit sexuality and all these things that ballet hasn't necessarily gone that way, or obviously it has in certain countries and certain cities, certain ballet companies, but most ballet companies are quite prim, actually. And I just love, I really believe that dance can express so much more than just beauty. Beauty is wonderful, and there's a lot of beauty in ballet, but to have ballets that are so dramatic and so seething and so emotional and to have dancers that are capable of doing the whole spectrum of what dance can be. And that's what I have here. They're brilliant dancers, they're brilliant technicians, but they're brilliant actors and actresses, and they love this kind of diversity of programming. They followed me all the way and they've excelled at it. I was just more concerned whether the audience would follow me, but I think they've embraced that also. Not that they don't love to see the Sleeping Beauty and the old classics, but they come along with us when we do the more experimental or the more difficult or the more challenging. There's always a few people who say, that's not for me, that's not what I want to see, but usually people are intrigued by the scope of what ballet can be nowadays. And I think that the dancers love the challenge of it all, that they've surprised me in their appetite for exploring and finding different parts of themselves that they didn't even know were part of performing as a ballet dancer. So yeah, I think that's the boldest thing I've done, is to take the risk of the kind of programming that I've done.
BMO was the first bank to support the National Ballet of Canada since its inception. What does it mean to you to receive the first ever Celebrating Women in the Arts Award from such a long-standing supporter?
Well, it means so much to me, my goodness. The fact that we've had this relationship since the beginning.
That precedes us.
That precedes us, and it's still so strong. I think that we are all completely grateful, beyond grateful, that we continue to have such a wonderful relationship. And I hope that BMO feels the same way about the National Ballet of Canada.
But I can assure you we do.
I think it's great that two such incredibly sophisticated and authentic Canadian institutions support each other so well.
Karen, thank you so much for joining me today and telling me about your career, and we look forward to next season.
Thank you so much, Nada.